All right. We ain't playing the music too loud and too long. Good day, folks. Welcome to our international podcast. Below the belt. How you all doing out there, guys? How you all doing out there? A good day to each and every one of you. Pulling down the volume real low because we want interruptions. How you all doing? Do let us know if you guys can hear us loud and clear. Let us know if you're hearing us loud and clear, good folks. Do let us know. We are happy that you guys are here with us. How you all doing? Angeli Abrams, good day. Leon Blair, Isabella Butters. Siobhan is here as well. Good to have you, Siobhan. I would dare say Siobhani, Magna Barrow. Like I could bring on our guest today right away. It's a surprise, folks. It's a surprise. Our guest today is a surprise. It's a surprise. We gotta get through some housekeeping matters very quickly, and then we're gonna have our guest on. We're gonna have our guest on. It's a lovely person, folks. It's a lovely, lovely, lovely person. If I say so myself, it's a lovely person. But good to have you folks on with us. Good to have you folks on with us. How you all doing out there, guys? How you all doing out there? How was the morning? The morning after the night before. How you all doing? Great to have you people with us today. Is lunch. Shasha says she's on a lunch break. Shasha. Yeah. Shasha. Yeah, we happy to have everybody with us. We happy to have everyone with us. Everybody. Everybody. Good to have you folks. We are grateful for your presence, Maxine, Shasha, Lachman, Aziz. Lachman, how you doing now? Lachman says hearing loud and clear. Loud and clear. We're happy, Lachman. We're so happy. We're delighted that you're here. We know the level of the podcast is going to go way up just because you here with us. Good to have you folks. Yesterday we had Member of Parliament Ganesh Mahi Paul. And today we have somebody even lovelier, more beautiful. Yep. Good to have you folks here with us. Donna Joseph says loud and clear in Guy Hawk Park. Well, we're happy. We're happy. We in some bushy places. Guy Hawk Park. We meet him far. We thought we were in the wrong corner. Rolinda Jordan. That's a lovely name, Rolinda. All the Rolindas I know got the money. Right? All the Rolindas I know got good bank. Deep pockets. These bushy uppity names. Rolinda. Rolinda. Yep. Another bushy name, Hodari. Prince Hodari. Majesty, welcome. Welcome. Debbie Collins, good to see you as well. And Leon Blair. All the technicians are on duty today. Loud and clear. Leon Blair says, loud and clear. Good to have you. Good to have you. I see Debbie is here and all the other folks who are joining us. We are delighted that you guys are here. Isabella Bottis, look, rich people session now. Isabella says she just finished having breakfast. Yep. She just finished having her breakfast with some juice. That's when you land, you know. That's when you touch down. You see? You got your pantry, you got your you don't say maids anymore. You say what's the euphemism now? You don't say I have a maid, you see, you have your butler or what have you. Yeah. Now having breakfast. All right, Grandpa, I want to be like y'all. Breakfast at what? 12:10. I want to be like y'all. Yep. Isabella's a girl. She thinks. I want y'all know that. Yep. Michael Hope is here as well. Michael, how are you doing? Good to have you, Michael. I see Loretta Argyle is here. Loretta says Brooklyn is in the house. Yep. Wish I were in Brooklyn right now doing this podcast. But good to have you folks here with us. Let's get a couple of things out of the way very quickly. Very sad. Some stuff we're following internationally. Very sad. You know, as we say every day, you wake up above ground. You got to thank Father. Some sad things happening internationally. First up, a man has died as a result of being attacked by an aggressive chicken. Signs in the Times. Things tight. Yep. attacked by what they are calling an aggressive chicken. True story. True story. We kid you not. Let me tell you what happened here. Let me tell you what happened here. Aggressive chicken, right? I know these chicken gotta be foreign chicken. You got an aggressive chicken could come around Guyanese funny. But this is an Irishman. You know, the Irish were like the what do you call them? The Arawaks. Right? They are a docile people, quiet by nature. Right? But this chicken is Carib. The Irishman is said to have had a heart condition and died as a result of being mauled by an aggressive Brahma chicken. You see, we got the Brahma bull now. Brahma chicken living on his property. Jasper Cross or Cross. Jasper, he was attacked. This is back in April. But an inquest was requested, and now we have the results of the inquest. And this was reported in the Irish Examiner, just in case you think we're making up story here. In the Irish Examiner, it was reported. Yep. His tenant, one Corey Keefe, he said he heard Mr. Crass screaming during the attack and saw blood pouring from his leg, as well as a large wound on his calf. Folks, beware of the Brahma chicken. Mr. O'Keefe said he called emergency services, which tended to Mr. Crass' wounds on his leg and talked him through CPR for 25 minutes before the ambulance arrived. Mr. O'Keefe says when Mr. Crass was coming in and out of consciousness, he said the word rooster. He said the word rooster. True story. This is the Brahma chicken for your reference. He said the word rooster. Authorities said the man was found lying on the kitchen floor in a pool of blood and had a wound on the back of one of his legs. Yep. Another one of his neighbor, one Garda Brown, right? One Garda Brown told the inquest that he was called out to the scene of the sudden death where he met the paramedics. He was informed by them that they had carried out CPR, but without success. Right? And they're telling us now that Brahma, believe it or not, though found in Ireland, Brahma is not an American. Brahma rather is an American breed of chicken. Could account for why this one was so, as the headline told us here, aggressive. It's an American breed of chicken. That's what they're telling us. The Brahma is an American breed of chicken. Yep. And let me make sure I get this right. It's an American breed of chicken. I seem to have lost my place in the text. 1 second, folks. Let me find my way back. The chicken confusing me right now. This Brahma chicken. Right? Yep. It's an American breed of chicken. And one Dr. Ramadan Swatwan told the inquest that while the deceased's face was covered in dry blood, there were no cuts to his face. And his cause of death was due to, listen to this, lethal cardiac arrhythmia. Yep. That is what the inquest revealed. Lethal cardiac arrhythmia. The Brahma chicken. The Brahma chicken. So you want to be careful there. Right? Dolly Anderson, Annette Cummins, you want to be careful there. The Brahma chicken. Let me make sure I get this spelling so you know to avoid the chicken. Brahma. The Brahma chicken is American breed, they say. Yep. Aggressive. Chicken. The chicken fought the fella. You see? The heart give out. Lethal cardiac arrhythmia. My Lord. My Lord. Roderick Henry, I telling you, that chicken won't risk that here. That chicken won't risk that here. So many pots. will be clanging. Won't risk that here. Right? You see, the Irish are nice, a nice, quiet people. Father have his mercies. Moving on, folks. Somewhat recovering away from this aggressive chicken. Uh, the writer says we must avoid loud and aggressive people. A vexation to the spirit. The Brahma chicken is one. Folks, look what happened here in Trinidad. I love this. Look what's happening here in Trinidad. Right? They are relaunching, this is Republic Bank Trinidad, what is called Encash. It's an app. Encash. It's Republic Bank TNT, their digital wallet. I love this. Right? It's their digital wallet. Right? And we're going to be telling you a little bit about how this is helpful. Is not going to be, but I hope maybe Republic Bank brings that here. But it says Encash, End Cash is a product of the Republic Bank in Trinidad and Tobago. It's a wallet, that aims to change how we send, spend, receive, and manage money. Right? That's what it's aimed at. How we send, spend, receive, and manage money. And they're saying that everybody who is looking to sell goods, products, especially, right? If you're like a retail person, you got your little stand, your little shop, or what have you. This is the thing the Trinidadians are telling us. This is the app to have, the Encash, right? You're a vendor inside a fete or a party, something like that. You're a vendor on the road. Right? They're saying Encash is the thing that you need. ASAP. It offers people a digital way for them to pay if you do not have a point of sales terminal. I find this is good. Right? So I could come, you got your little thing happening. I stop and buy papers all the time. You don't have cash. Click, cling. You swipe. You see? Encash. I love it. We got to go cashless. Put them boys out of business. Too many people kind of run a lot of money. People robbing you, snatching your bag, tumbling you upside down. Besides the government. We got to go cashless. And, I'm all for it. Right? We got a lot of bank cards being offered, but you can't really pay a lot of places with your bank card. Somebody was complaining that to me just quite recently. You got a MasterCard, but there's only so many places you can use your MasterCard. Locally, that is. I know once you leave these boundaries, opportunities abound. So kudos to Republic Bank Trinidad, Republic Bank TNT, Encash, digital wallet. I hope more folks would use also. We have MMG. I don't like the name MMG. We could find a better thing. Listen to the Trinidadians. Encash, even as a little roughish, but MMG, we could do something a little better. You see, something a little better. But I wish more folks would use MMG. Just last night, I got a message from GT&T. Your phone bill is due, and I was able to pay right from MMG. Right? That's how we keep the thing going. You got to pay your bills. It's only that house rent keep him back. It's only the house rent keep him back. Oh, you were the propaganda in this country. Folks, if you got an opportunity to go cashless, do that. Put your money in the cloud where them boys can't reach it. In the cloud, cashless. I had my little hesitation because you're so accustomed to your little bank book and them boys. You go in the bank and you withdraw and the writing pen, where's the balance and so on. But we got to elevate, right? And it's not about working harder, but smarter, right? So there's that. So your boy, Vikram Bharat. Let me bring my guest in. Maybe she can help me through some of these topics. Run out and made a statement during his presentation at the recently, well, it's today, I think it's concluding the oil and gas summit. He ran out. Folks, allow me to introduce my guest today, a former Minister of the Public Service. I wish she had a little more time to dig in her heels and to flesh out some of the plans she had. Former Minister of the Public Service, my colleague in the National Assembly, and as well, folks, she heads a political party that's growing every day. This is the Guyana Nation Builders Movement. Guyana Nation Builders Movement. The one and only, the very audacious, bold, and lovely Tabitha Sarabo-Halley is with us. Is she here? Yes, she's here.
I
Tabitha,
think I am. Am I here?
welcome, welcome, welcome. Let me see if the folks are hearing. Guys, if you're hearing Tabitha, please let us know. Welcome, Tabitha.
Good afternoon to you, Sharon. Good afternoon to your listeners. It's a sunny day out there. I hope
Yeah,
everybody's doing fine in spite of all of the challenges. You still have to keep hope alive.
amen to that. Amen to that. It is sunny outside, and just the way we love it. They're telling us it's 28 degrees outside. In the national capital city, Georgetown, where we're broadcasting from. 28 degrees outside. It's a 14% chance it's gonna rain this afternoon, but they tell us it feels like 33 degrees. Well, it feels like what it is, 28 to me. To me.
Wow.
All right, the folks are saying they're hearing you loud and clear, Tabby. They're hearing you loud and clear, and we're happy with that. And folks, Tabby wears a lot of hats. One of them is wife and mother. And so if you hear children in the background and so on, pay no attention to it. She's multitasking.
Thanks for that disclaimer. Thank you
Multitasking.
for that disclaimer.
Excellent, excellent. Tabby, before we talk about some other stuff, here's this issue that we're dealing with. This news headline we pulled out today. Things current happening. Vikram Bharat says that they are going to be amending the Natural Resource Fund, the NRF, that they passed last year, so that more persons will benefit. I read this whole report, I think, out of the Times. You know, it's not one of my favorite papers. I read the whole report for the sake of current affairs and couldn't find out why. So I would infer to this, him saying that more people will benefit. Like a lot of people don't benefit now from the NRF. It's true. Because a lot of people say they don't really feel in this aisle.
I, it, it, it's an interesting statement to make. I'm wondering whether he is he's not happy that he made it after all. It's telling because this is part of the reason why we had the whole uproar last year in December,
Uh, mhm.
because a lot of us recognize that there was a lot of things missing from the because they made amendments to the fund, the act that we had made, that we had passed and assented to by then President Granger, and they came in and slashed a lot of those things that would benefit the people and dealt with transparency and accountability. And now he's here coming back now telling us that basically Guyanese aren't benefiting from the act as is, and so they have to make some amendments, which bears out what it is that we were trying to tell them from the inception when they came in to try to amend the act. So it's quite telling that he is saying this at this particular forum, and I'm waiting now to see what the amendments will look like, because we also have to be careful. Amendments that they normally make don't generally benefit the people in any case. So when he's saying now they're coming back to amend it further, we have to worry what it is they're going to actually come to try and do with the act that is already a bad act. Um, and some may say it wasn't actually legally passed in the National Assembly, but that is a whole other discussion. But
Yeah, it's quite.
um,
Yeah.
I'm wondering whether or not has been called in to answer for those statements that he made.
Well, I am hoping maybe it's the publication taking some liberties on themselves, but I wouldn't put it past them. Um, and I wouldn't disagree with him either.
No, but Sharon, I actually saw it.
Go right ahead.
I saw it on his website. It's actually on the Natural Resource website that that statement was made.
Hmm.
So it's not just the newspaper.
I
They
see.
actually carried it on his web on the ministry's website.
I see. I agree with him to an extent. again, to the extent where people say they are not feeling like an oil producing country because they're not benefiting in any way, right? But this is one of the reasons, as you talked about illegally passed, we said to them, let's slow down, put this thing in a select committee. A lot of stakeholders said they would have wanted a greater input into what finally evolved as the Natural Resource Fund Act, but they were not able to do so. Right? They have a tendency of saying they've consulted, but they didn't really consult with nobody at all. So it is surprising to me on all of those levels to see this admission. It's benefiting everybody. Quite surprising.
Yeah, yes, I don't. You see, there are two things about it. It's two things. One, as like you, I am happy that he's recognizing that it's not benefiting the majority of the population. But I am also a bit iffy about what the amendments would look like, whether or not that would actually help the people, because they don't generally tend to be interested in things that actually benefit the masses and the working class. So I am
Correct.
I wouldn't say that I look forward to the amendment because I don't know what will come. But the admission that it's not currently benefiting the majority of Guyanese is a shocking one. It's one that we know, people on the ground recognize it, but that he can say it from that particular position, I think it's telling of how bad it actually is that he could put it, he can state it at that level.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. Perhaps it's not benefiting all of the friends, the family, and the favorites. Perhaps it's not benefiting all so they gotta come back. And
Maybe.
yep, and
So
then
we wait and see. We wait and see what comes out of it.
exactly, exactly. And then there's this other issue of the disbursement of the carbon credits funds to our indigenous people. And I'm seeing so many headlines. You're wondering how to look at this, right? There is one just of recent. Yesterday they met with the um, our indigenous brothers and sisters to inform them that next week they're getting money, and no doubt they can meet with them again next week, right? So we can give y'all know next week we can be ready for y'all. Villages are being given between 10,000 and sorry 10 million and $30 million, and rightfully so. But exactly what is transpiring here? Again, it boggles the mind because, as I said, we saw this event yesterday where they were telling the indigenous people what we're going to be doing. And then I'm seeing another headline here that says they read out a long set of lists of what projects these monies are going to be going towards. I heard $5 million to expand a community shop in one of the villages, and a number of other things like that. But here's this headline in Guyana Chronicles, um, Guyana Chronicle, in which they say the VP has said, the vice president, indigenous people are highly capable of planning how to utilize their resources. And a comment attributed to him, he says that the VP affirmed the government stand ready to provide technical assistance whenever necessary, warning against condescension and prejudice towards Guyana's indigenous people. Now, I see no way anybody ever said or implied that they couldn't manage this money, right? But in fact, that he is saying that they're capable of planning. Clearly, they weren't part of the planning process in how these monies are going to be spent. And to show confirm that.
I see it's I would call it proactive propaganda. It's an interesting statement to make because it's at two different levels here again, Sharon. As I saw those articles come up, it took me right back to what happened with Ipadaji.
Hmm.
I started asking myself the question whether or not that African Guyanese are not highly capable of planning and utilizing their own resources.
Hmm.
And so the government had to decide to take it away from the Ipadaji, and determine how the money is spent and who they want to give it to. So if I'm to take that as an example, the statement I believe made by the vice president, I think is one which I think is is propaganda because one, he is trying to preempt anyone saying that there should be a proper system in place that monitors and evaluates and shows how the money is being spent by
Mm-hmm.
saying that they are capable of planning. Nobody's saying that no persons are not incapable. But when it is that we're dealing with large sums of money, if you want to get the best out value for money, then certain systems need to be in place on any level. And what I see happening there is they giving the PPP the space to utilize their monies for political purposes and giving to who they believe they want to give it to reap the benefits of that when it comes elections or what's not. Um, and so they broaden it in a way that, and then they give this propaganda to shut people up before they start asking the necessary questions as it relates to the proper systems being in place. And so it's it's an interesting way, but I understand how the VP functions in terms of the way in which they would address something like that because they know what they want to do with the money. And so to preempt anybody, they would make these statements, but at the same time, they decide that the African people don't the first they can't plan, they don't have the capacity to utilize their own resources, and so they have to take away their monies from Ifadeji and have Ifadeji have to take them to court on it. So that dichotomy also is very interesting.
Yeah, yeah, indeed. And as you're talking about planning and them being afraid of questions being asked, we saw as we aired last evening. Tushaw asked two important questions. While rightfully saying, how thankful they were to receive this money. It's their money, right? It's our money. It's our money. It didn't belong to the PPP. But while saying all that, he had two important questions to ask. I want to show that clip, and then we can unpack it, as a colleague of mine would say, on the other side. Take a look and take a listen, guys.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead. I am Lamel Thomas to Shav Kamram or Wata. I want to say something on your presentation. Two things, and then maybe I will ask other questions hereafter. Number one, I want to commend this government in particular for the initiative taken on board with LCDS since 2009, sorry. And I want to commend this government for that and the persistence for having extended that strategy. But what I want to note, and thanks for the world that supports or looking at Guyana, I want to take careful note that indigenous peoples around the world, research has shown that wherever indigenous people are living, we're living, the forest and its cover is intact. And we want to give all the indigenous people for that part they have played to ensure that our country, Guyana, and its forests are still intact. So on other than the government, the indigenous people must be applauded for what they would have done. Secondly, I realize that this conference center is also a parliament business place. And in that vein, I realize that whenever we assemble here, we still have the globes in the ring. So I feel proud when APA name is called, because that is the only enemy with the globes that can stand in the ring. So I feel proud because I'm sure I will hear the name tomorrow again. And because A stands for Amerindian and I'm the Amerindian, I feel proud that in the ring you always have an Amerindian association neck to neck. Now I want to say this. When we stand for Amerindians, we look at that from the indigenous perspective, their rights perspective. And so, for example, like the 15%, who decided on the 15%? How do we arrive at that? Were the 40 communities involved in this decision? I feel because they preserved, they cared for it, it should have been far more than 15%. And I don't know if other brothers and sisters think that way. We belong to this, we were here before anybody else, and we deserve more than 15%, but leave that aside. But for now, we appreciate the 15%. We have a lot of projects that were starved of funding, and I believe According to the president, honorable president, villages will be transformed with this support. But this is a beginning. But we will bargain. We will lobby not for 15%, but higher than 15%. Because not only the villages have to be looked after, there are bodies called the district councils that need development. There is the NTC, the National Tushhouse Council, that needs funding. Because my experience tells me that whenever they present a budget, it is cut. And I am quite sure this year their budget was cut, if I could ask one of them. And so there needs to be funding, not only for the village councils, but for the district councils and the NTC as well. Thank you for listening to me.
All right, there you have it, folks. There you have it, Tabitha. Who decided on the 15%? Right? And were the villages
That's a very good question.
were the villages consulted? Jagdio just
Well,
being
based on the, yeah,
can plan. Nothing against them planning. They are smart people, they can plan. But clearly they didn't involve them. Because this is Lionel Thomas, Tushau Camarang, and then Kamwata in particular. Tabby.
yes, and you see the questions that he asked and the statements that he made, I think are very important. And I don't know if you've noticed that he spoke about the APA, and you have Darmlal on the other side trying to
I was
suggest that the
coming there.
APA is a political entity.
I was coming around
Um,
there.
and so anything that is not, you know, on the PvP bandwagon is somehow, uh, it has to be politicized by the other side or something like that. It can't be just people who are looking out for the best interests of their own people. And that is always a worrying sign. And I don't know if you noticed, he kept saying in the ring, which I was wondering whether or not he looks at your program. But besides, besides that, on a serious note, the question of the 15% is important. Like, who determine what percentage goes to what?
Yeah.
And if it is that this is a lot of money, and the value of the indigenous communities remaining in those places and keeping the forests intact, and based on the fact that the history would have shown that, they understand the forest, they understand what plants to use, not to use, how to keep the forest alive and keep it going for centuries, and to only feel that at this particular point 50% is what they deserve, and not have them part of the process of determining, what percentage they could get now, what percentage they could probably get next year. And so they're part of the discussion and they understand what is happening. And so that sort of question would not have to be asked at that forum. And it's a show of the fact that, as much as as I said, the proactive propaganda, that there are lots of questions that will come out that would show that it is not what it seems and what they pretend to make it seem, because the indigenous communities will not be happy.
Yeah. I found that startling.
Gets it and who doesn't get it and all of that. You will see a lot more concern and discussion around who is getting it and why, and who is not getting it, which will be very important.
Yeah, it's a very important discussion for us to continue to have, because if this is a tushao of an entire village and he don't know how he got to the 15% of the
Yeah.
carbon credit money going to the indigenous community, and he wasn't involved, his village wasn't involved in some of the plans, because he said, were the 200 plus villages consulted? If his village was consulted, certainly he would know as tushao. That's very interesting.
But it is the way of the PvP. They pretend as if they're interested in you, but they give the facade that they are. But in reality, when you actually ask people on the ground and the people that are actually involved, you know that there's something untoward happening. But the whole thing is about the fact that you play communities against each other. So when Guyanese look at it on face, oh, the indigenous people are getting what they deserve. But if you go to the actual indigenous communities and you have discussions with them, you will hear the issues. And then they will see that they go to a particular community and give them some footballs and something. Oh, the community is getting what they deserve. And the rest of when you go on the ground, realize that there's some other issues that are being, that are not being looked at. More pertinent issues are not being looked at. And so what they do is they play each other each community against each other in that way, and have each community thinking that the other is getting, and
Correct.
everybody at the
Correct.
underground is upset because they're not getting what is actually required for their actual development.
Absolutely correct. I see part of the notation in one of the reports says that in terms of how the money is going to be distributed, this was determined. It was determined that population size is key in the determination of the disbursement process. Now, I'm taking that to mean the bigger you are as a community, as a village, the more money you will get. But that doesn't necessarily mean that a big community got lots of problems as against a small one, right? So I don't know how they arrived at that. The whole, again, the whole thing is just so murky. And that's a problem you see with project after project of the PPP. And we can go whether we're talking about the Amilo Falls, you can talk about the Gas Shore project, even this one, right? There is so little information on the project that they're doing. It's baffling. And to think that they
I,
would just use that as a marker, population size. I mean, like,
well, I understand population size being one aspect, but that cannot be the only thing, because it's
precisely.
like looking at when you go to a lot of the outlying and hinterland regions, they would mean sometimes require more resources going there because they have not been looked at for such a long time.
That is what
So
I
just focusing on population size and not, and that is where the whole thing with equity and equality comes into place. It can't just be that. It has to be an equitable sharing of the resources where needs it most based on where they currently are, and how do they um how does it look when it is you come on the coast as opposed to that particular community in the hinterland, and does the hinterland require a lot more resources to get them to at least the place where the urban centers are. And so you can't just, yes, population size, I understand it, but that cannot be the only measuring that you use when it is you decide on how much a community gets. It has, and it also has to take into consideration a strategy for a 5 or 10 year plan. Is a community going to stay that small? Do they plan to do anything to make that community vibrant? How do you prepare the community for the vibrancy that will come in the next 10 years? So all of those things have to impact the decision as to how much money a community gets. But if you just I don't know. They probably have a metric that they're using that is not as logical and as what we're discussing here, and so that is what they're going with. But anybody who's interested in proper development, human development, and infrastructural development will look at a number of different indicators before they determine what percentage, not even determine, but have discussions with and consult to make a decision as to what percentage each community should be getting.
it's very, very interesting. Um, it's weird in some instances, the fact that you don't even have a clear picture of what this program is, um, exactly how they went about allocating the kinds of monies they're going to be allocating. And the other thing is, I heard the vice president say all are going to benefit from these, what do you call it, the carbon credit funds and so on. Um, my thought is this: why, in one instance, you would go, and I'm very happy that they have, you give cash to these two shows and village leaders and so on to implement these projects. Um, let's say in the African community, you have leaders too, right? You got villages, you got village councils and all of that. What would negate them, for instance, getting a $10 million to do projects as they see fit in their communities, or a $30 million for that instance, for doing projects directly in their communities? I mean, if we're talking about equity and all of that, because some communities could really need an injection of fund. And when I hear the Tushao Lionel Thomas say that some of the projects have been starved for funds, I get the impression that in the past, because we just had the usual sectors, now the non-oil sectors, we relied on. There's only so much that could have been done. You want to do a lot of things, but now we have this bounty of oil and gas and carbon credits and all of that. There's so much more can be done. So much more. I heard Irfan Ali himself said, This is a time when they have more than any other generation would have had to really and truly effect meaningful change and do projects and that kind of stuff. So why in one area you can tell me, well, look how we helping you out with carbon credit money. We cleaning the drains, we doing the roads, we fixing your lights. But why not, somebody in our hand, let us do our own projects, you know?
Well, Sherrod, let me just answer by saying this. When you, when the VP said what he said, based on the track record of the PDP, they know who it is that they intend to give the money to and for
Oh
what.
yes.
It wouldn't be an across the board, everybody has access
Oh
equally,
yes.
equitably.
You can see some
And
grants.
so what we have in, for example, exactly what we have that happened where I keep using Iparaji because that is the most recent thing occurred. When they went to Parliament to pass the budget, they put $100 million in the budget for international dedicated people of African descent, but not the grouping that was handling the monies before. And so, what was stated during the question answering in the budget was that they will determine who they're giving the monies to, and individual groups will have to come and sit. So they will make a decision. Be the
Yep.
president or the minister of sport or minister of finance will sit down and determine who they will give the monies to. And if it's an indication of what has happened in the past, the same friends, family, favorites thing will keep coming up, and persons who they are trying to, ensure they go a particular way or stay a particular line or say certain things publicly will end up getting a lot of money.
No, that's interesting. That's very, very interesting. And as we're talking about this and the need for information, Tabby, are you still with us? Or they took a sharp cut. Um, I want to circle back to the oil and gas conference and expo because again, to show Lionel Thomas didn't seem to know too much about how we got wrong to the 15% and how if the villages were consulted in how these monies are going to be spent. And it harkens back to the fact you had a serious breach happened. And I refer to the locking out of the um, news media. That's what I'm referring to, the locking out of the news media from the oil and gas conference. How can people get the information, right? If journalists cannot do the work the journalists must do. You want a certain kind of narrative out, and so you want to organize who is interviewed, and you probably want to ask the questions too, right? Tabby, we lost you there for a second, but I'm circling back to the issue as we're talking about transparency and accountability and all of that, of the press being locked out of the oil and gas conference and expo.
Yeah, I read the statement that the press association sent out to the media. And as with everything else, you have to ensure a particular narrative gets out and no other narrative gets out. And so you can't have the media doing what they should, which is actually engaging one on one with individuals and asking the pertinent questions of the panelists, and so that you can get what are the stories that are of interest to the man in the street. And so, because you don't want that, then you have to confine them to a room where they could look at something on a projector and write their stories from stories from there. It's really a telling time in Guyana, because as much as they speak about democracy and what democracy means, one of it is having a free media. And I'm quite sure the media is not feeling very free right now based on what a lot that has happened over the last couple of months where they're concerned. But the reality is a particular narrative has to go out, and they don't want anything interrupting or disrupting that narrative. And so the media would not be able to have free access at the conference. They may try to do it elsewhere, but not at the conference.
Wow, This is so interesting. American airline disrupted the narrative yesterday, though. American airline disrupted the narrative.
I was thinking exactly that when I was talking.
Disrupted the narrative. Got in their own narrative, and now they're balling. You see, when they are at the receiving end of foolishness, right? I saw the headline that says government protests. The shabby treatment. How should we be feeling here about the shabby treatment as Guyanese? By this administration, right? By this administration. Look, there came in, we set up the framework for the natural resource fund and all of that. They were able to spend the money, right? I, as a Guyanese, don't feel like I'm in an oil and gas economy. I don't know if things that be different by you. You got your butler, your this, your that, your thing, and you got a lot of change in the bank. But I don't feel like most Guyanese that you part like we didn't even want to hear, but no more I'll find. Because like the more oil we find, it's the more terrible things getting in this country. Right? It's the more terrible. I saw some
The
let me say this. I saw Mr. Hess. God bless his soul. He must be a decent fella. I don't know. Talking about, oh, this thing can do X and Y and Z for us and all of that. And I'm thinking, what the hell he talking about? Right? What the hell he talking about? I decided to do a little Google search of Mr. Hess. Mr. Hess lives in one of the most expensive pieces of real estate in Manhattan. One of the most expensive piece of real estate in Manhattan. You see, the point I want to make here, Tabby, is that for these guys who come into this country, this is about ching, keeping them living where they live in some of the most exclusive places on earth. But what happened for me and you? You see, you were able to buy a shoe. You were able to save $500 more and say, this is because we got island gas. I would not have been able to do it outside of that. People paying more rent, paying more for food. You see, things are rough and tough in this country. And we got idle more than ever before. What's the difference? Oh my, I don't know. Resource curse? I don't know, Tabby.
it,
You brighter than me. You do your masters and all that.
Sharon, while I understand the desire to look at his, I'm not even. There's a case about the contract and it being redone, and uh, they look at the numbers and stuff like that. And there's a case and a whole discussion that could happen with that is concerned. But I am looking at just what it is that we have been receiving thus far.
Mhm.
Um, how our GNP has grown, and the amount of money that is in our coffers that we never thought possible, and how it is being managed. Now, I it's like a bittersweet thing. It's like you say you want the contract we looked at, yes, but do you want the PVP to have more access to more money under the conditions that they are currently mismanaging right now? So it's
Mhm.
you end up in a place where they can't even, the little is big, and they can't even properly manage the little that they've gotten based on the percentage that you're getting from the contract to help the people, because their interest is not in helping developing the people. Because and so when you understand that, then you worry about them even trying to ask and get more, because where will the more go? It will not go to the people. It will go further into their bank accounts, and they might have a real estate next to Hess in Manhattan, and the rest of us trying to figure out how to pay the $80,000 and $100,000 rent,
Mhm.
if it doesn't increase between now and then.
I
And
hear
so
you.
it's a starting place to get at society. Hmm?
Yeah. And then I owe 3 months rent too. So I got it real. I got it. I owe three
And
months.
I can't help you with that one, Chef.
I owe 3 months. 3 months. You see? Yes, anybody out there listening. You see, Chabi, you live in this economy. Your wife, your mother, you have a blossoming political party that, in my mind, is the future. You're young. You're the future. People like me, we all have gone through, right? What bothers you? What concerns you? Um, outside of the, I mean, everything in this country is political. So I can't even say outside the politics. What consumes you? What bothers you about the path we run, if anything?
For me, the thing that I'm most concerned about, and that is what I have been working towards, um, is as my party's name is the building of a nation.
Hmm.
What kind of nation we leave for our children? Will it be a divisive nation, a divided nation, a nation where there's great disparities in economically in the living standards of people, or where people feel comfortable in their country and be able to live, not have to look outside, even though money is coming in. People are still leaving the country in droves for betterment outside of our shores. And I think, can we do better for the next generation? And so those are the things that concern me the most, because at the end of the day, it's about the people. It should be about the people. It should be about
Yeah.
ensuring that the people are comfortable, that everyone is comfortable where they are, whatever they choose to do, that they
Yeah.
don't have to be begging and doing all sorts of things just to make ends meet. And also, and placing their children and their grandchildren in positions um, to have things done to them that shouldn't, because they're also trying to make meet by going out in the night for a guard job and stuff like that. And so those are the things that concern me and worry me the most. And so getting that right is so important, and the other things I think will flow. But if we don't get that right, then those things, those social issues, and so will continue, because I think it stems from a poverty mindset, a poverty that is placed on the people too, and also a continued um, propaganda of division and divisiveness and racism that seeps through the society intentionally, so that certain people can remain in power and have the power and authority to wield over the rest of us. And so that is what really concerns me, and what it is that I am working towards alleviating.
Yeah. 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 I hope in our lifetime that we can see a better country, right? Because it is to our detriment that you have uh, folks who believe that all of the answers repose in them. All of the
Yeah.
answers repose in them. And again, as we wrap up, I'll circle back to Kushao Lionel Thomas. He said he's from Camarang and Kemawati in particular, right? Now, if you are the first people in this country, look how we upside it down, right? And you got to depend on people who came second and third for your well-being. It's very there. You see? It's very there. And they got to tell you, you only deserve 15%. Use 15%. Right? They're not sitting down with you. And that's what I mean when I say these guys believe all of the wisdom repose in them. Right? Yet we got the skeletons of this world. We got the fiber optic cables of this world. We got Cherry Jagan International Airport lumbering along, sucking up a whole set of money, Gaisuko, and the whole lot of it. The whole lot of it. They believe they got all the answers. They're not willing to sit down and to listen at all. And here is this Tushao, who lives in a beautiful area. You see? When you go in those places, Tabby, I know you feel as though your whole quality of life improved. The air is so pure. You ain't got no garbage, at least not a lot. You see, the place is pristine. And the manga for come and tell you who've been preserving your community and your way of life for centuries. Oh, you deserve, we get plenty money for this place, but you deserve 15% of that. You deserve 50% of that. That's madness. They don't even come and sit down and consult with you. He asks two questions. Who say we must get 15%? And who consult?
It's 1 o'clock.
Who consult with the indigenous community? Thank you, Siri. There's no obia. Go right ahead, Tabby. You on
And
track.
is Sharon, part of the bottom line thing is the thing of leadership, and it's the type of leadership that we have. When it is that you are a leader that is not, it is that, well, let me just put it this way. If you're a leader who is, you're okay in your sense of self, that you're not insecure, you're not trying to find ways to con people, and your interest in that position is about helping and benefiting the people, then consultations and discussions of all kinds become easy to do because you're not with a predetermined mindset as to how you want to use this money and how you can benefit from anything that is happening. But when you have leadership that is surrounded by conning people, by misguiding people, by
Uh,
always looking out for self and not looking out for the nation, then these questions will continue to arise because people will recognize that they are not part of what we call a democratic society, which requires consultations, which requires that everybody be involved in the decision making process, whether through representatives, their representatives, or direct consultation with the people. And for example, indigenous communities is always free, prior, informed consent, and that is something they keep repeating where a lot of these projects are concerned, that there's none of that happens where they're concerned, and then they're just told that this project is happening. But it's the type of leadership we have, and as a country, we have to make a decision whether the leadership we have is the type of leadership we deserve. And if not, find a leader that will do right by the people.
yep. And that is a high note. A high note. Was to draw the curtains on our discussion. Tabitha Sarabo-Halley, it's been a privilege having you on today on the live, as we see. Folks, Tabitha is a member of parliament, as you know. She's a former minister of the public service and as well heads up a blossoming party, the Gather Nation Builders movement. Tabitha, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, Sherrod. Good afternoon to your listeners.
All right. That's gonna do it for us, guys. That is gonna do it for us at this end. Thank you so much for being with us. Tomorrow we want y'all on the live. Members of the public tomorrow. Open mic. Y'all plan to be on the live. The mic is gonna be open tomorrow to y'all. Bantu King. I want to hear from you tomorrow. Good Yvonne Ramistar. I want to hear from you tomorrow. Wosley Paris. Want to hear from you tomorrow. Okay. I want to hear from you guys tomorrow. Open mic. That's how we chucking it. Open mic. Please and thank you. The mic will be yours. Good folks, the mic will be yours. Good to have you, Nicole Cole, Commissioner Evelyn Obamala. Good to have you as well. And Yvonne Ramasar, Lennox Anderson, Yvette Madu. Lennox, good to have you here. Each and every one of you, the hundreds of you who joined our cast or podcast, we're delighted to have you folks here with us today. Folks, this is how we get by. This is how we go from month to month, year to year. Your love, your support, and your generosity. Folks, you can contribute to our program. And I want to say thanks to George N, who contributed to our program live during the program from YouTube. From YouTube. Thanks for doing that, George. On YouTube, right at the bottom of the comment section, there's a dollar sign there. You click on that and it tells you how you can contribute. You purchase one of the thingies there and it comes to us. That's how we move the program forward. Thank you so much, folks. You see, we got to keep up with the times. You see, this is how the people are organizing the thing now. You know, you can transfer money around the world. We got the bank book and we want somebody right inside. Where's the balance? You know? But good having each and every one. People going to see you guys right back this side tonight. All right, folks, we're in the ring. In the ring, folks. Good to have you guys here with us. That's my time. And that's my program. Good to see you guys. Thanks, Tabby, for stopping by. Member of Parliament, Tabitha Sarabo-Halley. Been a privilege having her on today. It's my privilege. Yep. Thanks to you guys. You know, if y'all are not here, we're just talking to ourselves. Right? Over 400 of you joined our podcast today. We're delighted by that. We're humbled by that. Thank you, folks, so much. That's we time and that's we program. That is we time and that's we program. Thanks, guys. We're gonna see you later on in the day. Take care and stay safe.